From serial killers to con artists, these actors brought infamous criminals to life, and the resemblance is unbelievable. Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, shocked the world with one of the most disturbing crime sprees in American history. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer lured men and boys back to his apartment where he murdered and dismembered them. His crimes revealed a horrific pattern of necrophilia and cannibalism that horrified investigators and the public. He was convicted of killing 17 victims and sentenced to multiple life terms in prison. In 2022, Netflix released Dahmer, Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, with Evan Peters in the lead role. Peters delivered a chillingly accurate portrayal, immersing himself in Dahmer's eerie calm and unsettling behavior. The series quickly became one of Netflix's most watched, praised for Peters' performance, but criticized for reopening wounds for the victims' families. His dedication to embodying Dahmer brought terrifying realism to the screen. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's case is one of the most shocking examples of abuse and tragedy in modern times. For years, she lived under the control of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, who forced her to pretend to be gravely ill in order to gain sympathy and financial support. This extreme form of abuse, known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, left Gypsy physically and emotionally scarred. In 2015, she conspired with her boyfriend to kill her mother. She was later convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to prison. In 2019, actress Joey King portrayed Gypsy in the Hulu series The Act. King shaved her head and studied Gypsy's mannerisms to capture her voice, posture, and vulnerability. Her performance earned critical acclaim for its authenticity, showing both the tragic victim and the young woman desperate to escape her mother's control. Michelle Carter became infamous for her role in a heartbreaking modern crime. In 2014, through a series of text messages and phone calls, she encouraged her boyfriend, Conrad Roy, to take his own life. The case became a landmark example of the dangerous influence of digital communication. In 2017, Carter was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to serve time in prison. In 2022, Elle Fanning portrayed Michelle Carter in the Hulu series The Girl from Plainville. Fanning's performance carefully examined the blurred line between a troubled teenager and the criminal responsibility she carried. The show dramatized not just the tragic end of Conrad Roy, but also Carter's own inner struggles and manipulations. Fanning brought chilling realism to the screen, capturing Carter's flat expressions and unsettling detachment, making the story both haunting and unforgettable. Charles Manson was the notorious leader of the Manson family, a cult that carried out a series of brutal murders in California in 1969, including the killing of actress Sharon Tate. Manson's manipulative hold over his followers and his strange, apocalyptic beliefs made him a symbol of chaos and violence in the 1960s. He was sentenced to life in prison and became one of the most infamous criminals of the century. Actor Damon Herriman brought Manson to life on screen not once, but twice. He portrayed him in the acclaimed Netflix series Mindhunter between 2017 and 2019, and again in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019. Herriman Herriman's uncanny resemblance and unsettling performance captured Manson's erratic energy and menacing charisma, cementing him as one of the most convincing portrayals of the cult leader ever filmed. Anna Sorokin, better known as Anna Delvey, shocked New York's elite with her elaborate deception. Posing as a wealthy German heiress, she conned hotels, banks, and friends out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. In 2019, she was convicted of grand larceny and theft of services, making headlines worldwide as the fake heiress. Her story highlighted the ease with which charm and confidence can manipulate even the powerful. In 2022, Julia Garner portrayed Delvey in Netflix's limited series Inventing Anna. Garner adopted Delvey's distinctive accent and mannerisms with remarkable accuracy, embodying her mix of arrogance and vulnerability. The series captured the bizarre mix of glamour and fraud that defined Delvey's schemes, and Garner's performance was praised for its nuance, making viewers question whether Delvey was a villain, a victim of ambition, or something in between. Elizabeth Holmes rose to fame as the founder of Theranos, a Silicon Valley startup that promised to revolutionize blood testing. At its peak, the company was valued at billions of dollars, but it was later revealed that its technology did not work as advertised. Holmes was accused of misleading investors and patients, ultimately convicted of fraud in one of the biggest scandals in tech history. In 2022, Amanda Seyfried played Holmes in Hulu's The Dropout. Seyfried transformed her voice and appearance to mirror Holmes's deep speaking tone and signature black turtlenecks. Her portrayal showed Holmes as both ambitious and manipulative, capturing the charm she used to persuade investors as well as the coldness behind her deception. The performance earned Seyfried an Emmy Award, proving how convincingly she embodied the disgraced entrepreneur. Eileen Wuornos was labeled one of the world's first female serial killers. Between 1989 and 1990, she murdered 7 men in Florida, claiming she acted in self-defense after being assaulted. Wuornos' life was marked by abuse, poverty, and trauma, which fueled both fascination and horror in the public eye. She was convicted and executed by lethal injection in 2002. In 2003, Charlize Theron starred in the film Monster, portraying Wuornos in a role that would win her an Academy Award. Theron underwent a dramatic physical transformation, gaining weight, wearing prosthetics, and adopting Wuornos' speech patterns. Her performance captured both the brutality of Wuornos' crimes and the deep pain of her troubled life, making it one of the most haunting and powerful portrayals of a criminal ever seen on screen. Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, terrorized California in the mid-1980s. A serial killer, rapist, and kidnapper, he broke into homes at night, leaving behind scenes of brutal violence and terror. His crimes had no clear pattern of victims, targeting men, women, and children, which fueled widespread fear. Ramirez was convicted of 13 murders and sentenced to death, where he remained until his death in 2013. In 2019, Zach Villa portrayed Ramirez in American Horror Story 1984. Villa's performance captured the menacing aura and unsettling energy of Ramirez. While stylized for television, the portrayal reflected the fear Ramirez instilled during his reign of terror, reminding viewers of one of America's most notorious serial killers. Ted Bundy remains one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. Charismatic and intelligent, Bundy confessed to murdering more than 30 women across 7 states during the 1970s, though the real number may have been higher. His ability to charm and manipulate made his crimes even more terrifying. Bundy was executed in 1989, leaving behind a legacy of horror. In 2019, Zac Efron portrayed Bundy in the Netflix film Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. Efron's casting surprised many, but his performance highlighted Bundy's outward charisma and the unsettling contrast between his attractive appearance and his monstrous actions. The film focused on how Bundy deceived those around him, offering a chilling reminder of how evil can hide in plain sight. Joyce Tilly Mitchell was a prison employee in New York who helped 2 convicted murderers, Richard Matt and David Sweat, escape from a maximum security prison in 2015. She provided them with tools hidden in food, setting off one of the largest manhunts in state history. Mitchell was later arrested and sentenced to prison for her role in the escape. In 2018, Patricia Arquette portrayed Mitchell in the Showtime series Escape at Dannemora. Arquette underwent a striking transformation, altering her appearance and mannerisms to resemble Mitchell closely. Her performance captured the vulnerability, poor decisions, and desperation that led Mitchell down a criminal path. The role earned Arquette critical acclaim, including a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. Candy Montgomery was a Texas housewife who, in 1980, shocked her community when she killed her friend Betty Gore with an axe on a Friday the 13th. Montgomery claimed it was self-defense after a confrontation turned violent, and her case drew national attention for its gruesome details. She was ultimately acquitted, but the case remains one of the most notorious crimes of suburban America. In 2022, Jessica Biel starred as Montgomery in the Hulu miniseries Candy. Biel's portrayal brought complexity to Candy's character, exploring both her seemingly ordinary life and the shocking violence she committed. The series depicted the build-up to the crime and its aftermath, with Biel's performance highlighting the hidden darkness that can exist beneath suburban normalcy. David Koresh was the self-proclaimed prophet and leader of the Branch Davidians, a religious sect based in Waco, Texas. In 1993, a federal raid on their compound led to a 51-day standoff that ended in tragedy when the compound burned down, killing Koresh and more than 70 of his followers. The event remains one of the darkest chapters in U.S. law enforcement history. In 2018, Taylor Kitsch portrayed Koresh in the miniseries Waco. Kitsch's performance captured Koresh's unsettling charisma, his control over his followers, and the fanatical beliefs that defined his leadership. The series explored the tension between the cult and the authorities, with Kitsch's performance at the center of the drama, bringing to life the man whose name is forever tied to the Waco siege. Christopher Dunch, infamously nicknamed Dr. Death, was a neurosurgeon whose operations left a trail of devastation. Between 2011 and 2013 in Texas, he severely injured more than 30 patients and killed at least 2 due to reckless and incompetent surgeries. Instead of healing, his patients left his operating room paralyzed, maimed, or worse. In 2017, he was convicted of aggravated assault and sentenced to life in prison. In 2021, Joshua Jackson portrayed Dunch in the Peacock miniseries Dr. Death. Jackson brought a chilling edge to the role, showing how Dunch's arrogance and recklessness destroyed lives. His calm but unsettling performance emphasized the danger of unchecked ambition in medicine, making the story of Dr. Death all the more disturbing. Andrew Cunanan embarked on a killing spree in 1997 that ended with the murder of Italian fashion designer Gianni Versace outside his Miami mansion. Before that, Cunanan killed 4 other men, leaving a trail of violence across the United States. The manhunt for him was one of the largest in American history. Cunanan died by suicide before he could be captured, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and violence. In 2018, Darren Criss starred as Cunanan in The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story. Criss delivered a mesmerizing and deeply unsettling performance, showing Cunanan's charm, deception, and descent into violence. His portrayal earned him both an Emmy and a Golden Globe, cementing his role as one of the most chilling true crime performances on television. O.J. Simpson, once a celebrated football star and actor, became the focus of what was called the trial of the century. In 1994, he was accused of murdering his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The televised trial captivated the world, dividing public opinion along racial and cultural lines. Simpson was acquitted in the criminal case, but later found liable in a civil trial. In 2016, Cuba Gooding Jr. portrayed Simpson in the People v. O.J. Simpson American Crime Story. Gooding captured Simpson's public persona, charismatic, larger than life, while also conveying the tension, denial, and fear behind the man at the center of a legal firestorm. The series reignited debate over one of the most famous criminal cases in modern history. Christopher and Susan Edwards were an unassuming British couple who committed a shocking crime. In 1998, they murdered Susan's parents, buried them in the garden, and spent years hiding the truth while using the parents' identities to commit fraud. They lived quietly for over a decade until financial troubles led to their arrest. Both were convicted and sentenced to life in prison. In 2021, their story was dramatized in HBO's Landscapers, starring David Thewlis and Olivia Colman. The series portrayed the crime not just a murder, but as a surreal psychological drama. Coleman and Thewlis embodied the couple's strange devotion and shared delusions, earning praise for their hauntingly accurate performances. Mark David Chapman became infamous for murdering John Lennon, a founding member of the Beatles, on December 8, 1980. Hours earlier, Chapman had asked Lennon for an autograph, only to return later that night to shoot him outside his New York City apartment. The crime shocked the world and left a permanent scar on music history. Chapman was sentenced to 20 years to life, where he remains imprisoned. In 2007, Jared Leto transformed himself to play Chapman in the film Chapter 27. Leto gained weight and studied Chapman's obsessive behavior, portraying the killer in the days leading up to Lennon's death. His unsettling performance captured Chapman's instability, obsession, and delusional fixation on fame, making for a disturbing look into the mind of Lennon's killer. John Meehan, nicknamed Dirty John, was a serial con man who preyed on women he met through dating sites. He posed as a doctor, manipulated his victims, extorted money, and subjected them to psychological abuse. His final attempt to control ended violently in 2016 when he was fatally stabbed by the daughter of one of his victims while attacking her. In 2018, Eric Bana brought Meehan to life in the Bravo series Dirty John. Bana captured his deceptive charm, the smooth persona that lured women in, and the darkness that emerged once they were trapped. His performance highlighted how manipulation and coercion can escalate into terrifying abuse, making the story all the more gripping. Joseph Maldonado Passage, better known as Joe Exotic, became infamous as the eccentric zookeeper featured in Netflix's Tiger King. Beyond the bizarre persona, his story turned criminal. In 2019, he was convicted of a murder-for-hire plot against animal rights activist Carol Baskin, along with numerous charges of animal abuse. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison. In 2022, John Cameron Mitchell portrayed Joe Exotic in the limited series Joe vs. Carol. Mitchell captured Joe's flamboyant style, unpredictable behavior, and reckless decisions. His performance balanced the outrageousness of Exotic's public image with the darker realities of his crimes, showing the man behind the viral phenomenon. Michael Peterson, a novelist from North Carolina, became the subject of worldwide attention after his wife Kathleen was found dead at the bottom of their staircase in 2001. He claimed she had fallen, but prosecutors argued he had killed her. After years of trials and appeals, Peterson entered an Alford plea to manslaughter, acknowledging the evidence against him while maintaining his innocence. He was released after serving time in prison. In 2022, Colin Firth portrayed Peterson in the HBO Max series The Staircase. Firth's nuanced performance captured the ambiguity of the case, showing Peterson as both a grieving husband and a man under suspicion. The series highlighted the complexities of truth and perception, with Firth embodying the uncertainty that continues to surround the case. Some of these actors looked almost identical, but which one do you think didn't resemble the real criminal at all?